Thank you so much for joining us today, Vijay. We're going to have a chat about mastering Kali Linux for advanced penetration testing, the fourth edition. I'm really grateful that you've taken the time.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to be here.
When did you realize that you wanted to start writing books, and why?
The reason I start with why, and after that I'll tell you when. So we were doing lots of penetration testing exercises. Because I used to lead a global team, that means we were doing at least 200 pen tests a year. When we do all of this, we had to create a knowledge base. And when we used to train the juniors, we could not find a single resource where we could tell them, go this, you're ready to go for the testing. That is the first place the why factor comes in. And then what can I do about it? And that's where I started writing this book as a concept, and then worked very well with Packt on, because they only do technical books. That's the best part of it, and hence the proposal went through, and then we were there. I'm the rookie writer there. And then you started writing the second opportunity on the Kali Linux, and Kali Linux never stopped because every edition has its own pros, and we were able to update the tools to keep the audience engaged. And the ultimate goal of the series on the Kali Linux is to create a lot of testers, because I firmly believe offense and defense serve the same purpose of securing security posture of an organization.
Very nice. So obviously you've written a couple of books now. Do you have any experiences you'd like to share from the writing process of this edition or the prior editions? Any anecdotes?
See, writing book needs a lot of alone time as well. And especially when you're writing technical books, you need to make sure your environment that you are setting up for the audience and for yourself takes a lot of troubleshooting patience time. It's easy to set up a lab, but making it vulnerable inside the lab looks more difficult than actually exploiting it. So during the exercise of writing the book, there used to be lots and lots of new exploits coming on the way. I really want to cover them, but there are no public exploits. There are no update to the Metasploit. But the thing, what really the book want to serve is what always was in the mind. If somebody picks up a new exploit tomorrow, how can they use leveraging Kali Linux? How can they use it to actually come up with a new thing, or even leverage the moment the exploit gets released? So basically serving the purpose of the skill gap that you are having today in the form of open source makes it more accessible to lots of people.
Amazing. And thank you so much for investing all that time. So you've spoken a little bit about how mastering Kali Linux is different and how it puts together all this information that's available in all these different places. How would you describe it? Why is it different from other learning resources out there?
Yeah, so the Kali Linux is a very beautiful distribution platform that collects all the open source community contribution and make it a single distribution. That means you already have a good community support. That means it is not going to go away tomorrow. That's one thing. And overall, there are 300 plus tools that is inside it. And if you have to learn anything, you just have a single platform. Go there, start from this place, which is like a bigger ocean for you to learn basics and also advanced, and also making sure it also teaches you that every step of the way it's already segregated. So from information gathering to digital forensics, it's already there. So that it's like a Tesco shop. So you just go in and you find what you want.
Amazing. That's a really thorough explanation. Thank you so much. So what do you like reading? Do you read about cybersecurity and pen testing, or do you get your inspiration from elsewhere?
So you have to remember this when you're in especially offensive security side. If you don't know what vulnerability was released yesterday, you're out of date today. So that means you got to constantly keep learning. A day without learning is useless, is what I personally have that principle, that you got to learn every day. You're not going to know everything, but you're going to learn every day. What kind of things I read for a longer term is something to do with how your psychology works, especially that helps you doing social engineering, talking to people and just walking out of the account number just by talking to them, right? and that psychology defense, those type of books I like to read. And of course, technology wise, I always keep up to date myself, what's happening till this afternoon.
That's brilliant. So how did Packt contribute to your journey?
Oh yeah, very well. They made me an author. That's the good thing. And Packt has always given enormous support from the teams which they assign during the entire journey of the book, and flexible. There is personal time and there is non-personal time, and there was not a pressure that was applied to any author. And team was really great and supportive, and acceptance on the way how we write it. And there are some comments come from your reviewer and come back, but they give the author the ability to choose the right one, which is good.
I think that's really good to hear. And if we talk a little bit about the people who will benefit the most from this book, so your audience, who do you think this book is for?
So I normally say 3 type of audiences are there. One who aspire to become a pen tester, so they can be analyst, already an administrator wanting to shift their career towards the security, or they can be a consultant who wants to translate the business, tech language into business. So the aspiring part is important, not what they are. So if they aspire to learn the basics of what an offensive security is, that book is for them. And second thing is for the one who is acquiring the skills. So they aspire to become a tester, they aspire to become somebody who can talk security, or somebody who knows how technically it is done. The book is serving the purpose of acquiring the skill, right? Then the third thing is an apply. There are a set of people who apply the skills. Now they cannot remember everything when they apply the skills. So if they want to apply for the skill which they already acquired, they can just open the book and straight apply it. So 3 type of audience, they can do anything what they're doing, but the book is for all 3 types.
That's fantastic. So when people start learning about pen testing and ethical hacking and cybersecurity in general, they often started by looking at different communities on the internet and learning from a really diverse set of information sources. Do you think that mastering Kali Linux can help someone who maybe has a lot of quite scattered information to kind of put it together and actually build a skill set for the first time?
Absolutely, yes. Because Kali Linux is like a unified platform for all type of testing tools, and also gives you a point where you can go and look for more. Okay, I believe if, for example, if somebody is like a smart home, I don't think you will need 5 different applications to monitor a bedroom 1, bedroom 2. You like everything unified in one place, so that you open the app, you know which bedroom light is turned on when you exit to the house. And that's exactly what this Kali Linux is giving you, that one platform that you can search, learn everything in one place. So if you're doing cyber threat intelligence, there are tools inside it. If you're looking at, you're scared to install a Tor browser on your traditional Windows or a MacBook, you can just spin off a VM on Kali Linux and you can just write. And you can also anonymize it. That's also written in the book, how you can be safe when you're doing the Tor browsing. So yeah, the platform is there. It depends on the audience that what can they do with it. The question is not what what can they do with it.
That's really good. I think that will be really useful for a lot of people, So during the pandemic, I think that's revealed a lot of company security weaknesses, and it's created such an added interest in trying to modernize people's skills and filling those knowledge gaps. Would you say that the 4th edition of your book is a pandemic or post-pandemic themed?
Yeah, so one of the big things that happened during pandemic was Hafnium specific exploit. So it is Microsoft Exchange Server exploit. If you see, majority of the organization work based on the emails, and most of the organizations around the globe use Microsoft Exchange Server. And the Exchange Server exploit was the one that was released in 2021. And that exploit created so much noise. Then the question comes to us is, how can I replicate the same exploit that was happening for the Microsoft Exchange server that exactly was exploited by a group called Hafnium? Their main modus operandi is creating fake invoices. So they used to just hack the Exchange server, download their emails, understand which email belongs to finance, and then they would be the maker, they would be the checker. So if there is an email says, okay, pay this company 50,000, because they hacked into the Exchange server, they could actually log on as anybody. So the CEO sends to PA, process this, the payment is done. So similar to that, how does that exploit happens? Where does that exploit happen? That's exactly what I have introduced in the chapter 1, how you can set up your own Exchange server. And in the chapter 10, how do you exploit it? And even if there is a specific protection in place, how do you bypass it? And that is 100% related to COVID, because nobody can go to the office to fix it. Even if they have to turn off the machine, they have to be physically there. So once that is breached, I don't think they have any control, because somebody else have the control of what emails you can see or receive is controlled by them. So that's one of the main things to even put that as a specific exploitation. We don't want to introduce all the old techniques of eternal blue, but this one is the biggest one that shook the corporate world for a while. I think that is more trendy, and we can still see a lot of Exchange servers. If they go to Shodan and just type Microsoft Exchange server, they will still find lots.
So of the new updates and new exploits that you cover in the 4th edition, which one would you say was the most exciting for you, the most interesting?
The most interesting one in this edition was chapter 8, which is focused on the cloud security. That's one of the reasons during the coronial season, there were so many companies dramatically moved into cloud. 100% cloud. I've seen people completely get off the traditional data center, then go cloud. Go cloud, good, but how securely are you going into the cloud? That's the question. Traditional pen testers don't have the most of the time don't have the ability to understand how the cloud setups are. And this particular chapter is going to help them to look at how the vulnerability scanning can be done within the cloud infrastructure. In this book, we focused on AWS. The same can be replicated on Google Cloud Platform and Microsoft Azure platforms, or any other Rackspace, Cloud Grid, whatever the companies are. Similar can be utilized. And this is the chapter I really loved, because future, everybody is moving towards the complete or hybrid model. So this pen testing is going to become the chapter book on its own in the future. So that chapter I really loved. And the last chapter 14, where the RFID hacking or firmware, hardware hacking, I firmly believe the IoT devices, I predicted in 2015 there's going to be 20 billion devices. Now it can be like triple that. So that IoT devices is something where, for example, if you go to a shop, and last time when you went to the shop and you just purchased a size 5 shoe, and because the IoT devices were connected, as soon as you turn on your Bluetooth, the push message from those devices is going to tell you, last time in this shop you bought a 5 size shoe. So by the time you reach the shop, you could select what you want, and you can just go pick it up, just walk away. Like the Amazon does this. You can, as an individual, walk in, take it, walk out, and then it knows who to charge, right? Similar to that. Yeah, that's kind of future that you're heading into. Chapter 14 covers the IoT, how you can unpack, confirm it, unpack the firmware, exploit it, and become a owner of the device. This kind of things hacker can do. Example, these IoT devices cannot be manufactured for one person. It's going to be billions, millions. One bug you find, it's going to affect billions. So I think that chapter, I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy that you help people how to pen test these devices to discover potential vulnerabilities. So I get the distinct feeling that there's a sense of giving back to the community when you write these books. And if you want to talk a little bit about that, that would be amazing.
Sure. The book is written for all type of audiences, right? Whoever is having an aspiration to learn what happens in the offensive security side of that thing. Personally, I feel giving back to the community is like what you give is what you get. So the more you give to the community back, it's gonna come back. Personally, I donate all the royalties come out of this book to the kids who cannot afford education. Right, that's one of the cause, but that is the charity of my choice. But that in that way, giving back not just the content, but also what you earn out of the content. So, yeah, I'm happy for that, and yeah, really good.
Nice. I was quite excited to hear you talk a little bit about the Internet of Things. So you mentioned that chapter 14 does touch upon that a little bit. Do you want to speak a bit more about that?
So we had written the similar chapter in the 3rd edition, which is 2 years ago. And that time itself, we talked about the Internet of Things in our 3rd edition itself. But this time, what we have done is upgraded in a way that how you could unpack firmware from my embedded device, and also how to side load your own operating system to control the device. In that way, testers can identify what are the fundamental flaws, disk encryption, default passwords, and etc. But the main reason that is, it is all doable within Kali. All you need is the right libraries and make sure you customize the way you want it. And the main thing is, I want to give the mind map to the audience that they can use Kali Linux as one platform for everything. IoT, hardware, firmware, or just side loading, mobile application, you name it, you should be able to use it. Commercial, non-commercial, you should be.
That's amazing. It's really useful. Now, there's a huge movement now, I'd say, not just in technological progression happening in the world of cryptocurrencies. And that's eventually going to become a big sort of advancement in the world of cybersecurity. Have you started thinking about cybersecurity within crypto or blockchain?
See, normally the AI and blockchain meets metaverse. That's Facebook, right? The Facebook metaverse. The AI and blockchain is going to, is going to help reduce the human effort, but not going to replace the human, right? Tools cannot think. You make the tools think the way you want it. And that's blockchain or crypto or anything. As far as my experience, people still hack web application, put a JavaScript that does the crypto mining for them. And nobody can just identify that JavaScript can actually mine a coin, right? It's just JavaScript, and just utilize your electricity, burn it out, and do. The hackers have a modus operandi. It's like a business. So the hackers invest a lot of time for them to hack something. The outcome, the return of investment will be more. So crypto miners, crypto blockchain, AI, and other different machine learning technologies that come up. Yes, they all deserve their own books. I feel we might come in the future of just blockchain hacking, because it's based on integrity, and one of the things hacker love is to break the integrity and then make do bad things. If I say hello here and it hears hi on the other side, the integrity of the message is gone. And similarly, you will find it. You have no idea. Maybe AI comes up with another AI who do the opposite of the good things what the AI does. And it happened once in Facebook that they created two AIs chatting to each other, and they created their own language. And they shut down the program because nobody could understand. Humans could not understand what the chats were chatting actually. It was supposed to negotiate each other, but nobody understood what they come up with. So it is dangerous also sometimes, but it is the way it is. And yeah, it is going to come up as its own, and I would not be surprised Kali will be able to cater cater this type of technological testing as well in the future.
I guess we'll have to wait for the 5th edition. Just a final question to you. What can beginners, intermediate pen testers, and advanced users respectively get out of mastering Kali Linux, the 4th edition?
So the beginner is going to learn how to set up his own lab. One of the things to set up the lab is because scanning anybody else without an authorization is illegal. Hence, we are building our own lab. There might be a lot of other open source communities who are giving online labs. It's good to use, but it's always good when you set up a lab, because pen testing most of the time is troubleshooting. When you troubleshoot and make the output on your go, so you're able to troubleshoot in such a way that for you to extract a password, for example, just a simple thing, you have access to an open desk. How do you extract the Wi-Fi password from the open desk with 30 seconds? So those kind of things. So intermediate is going to learn straight away. They can jump onto certain parts because they know how the basics of setup are done, because they're intermediate, and they will be able to pick up the chunks which they really need in the book. Or if the person is good in infrastructure and they want to focus on web application, there's a chapter for them to straight away jump into web application. Or if that person is taking care of social engineering for the first time, how do you set up? How do you set up email phishing? How do you set up your own infrastructure, creating your template? And then how do you send emails? And also the social engineering chapter gives you not just email phishing. It's going to give you some of the ideas how you can do a phone phishing. We call it phishing. How do you do SMS based phishing? Or you can do WhatsApping. So those kind of ideas, how you could use your social engineering skills. But for the advanced, they know what they want. So you have 14 chapters. If they are in a particular line that they want to do only exploitation or bypass security controls on an EDR, you straight jump to that chapter. And they know already what they want. They can pick up from there as a quick reference guide. They'll be able to execute it. And for them also, because I wouldn't call most of the testing people as experts, because they always learn. We always are intermediate. Most of the time in life, we're always intermediate, because you're going to keep on learning all the time.